Warning, you are about to enter the BGP suite. No thongs, no boy shorts, no thigh highs, no commandos are permissible. BGP, big girl panties only. So pull up to woman up. And no, please don't leave with your panties in a bunch.
Welcome to BGP, the suite where we have three lovely ladies who are all about putting on our big girl panties. We're not afraid to hold ourselves accountable for our actions, our choices, our decisions. We discuss all topics across the board. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but we still manage to get our points across and get along. We hope you take what we discuss. As wisdom and not as a way of judging or putting down anyone. We're just trying to help you to make better decisions so that you don't fall into that statistic of unworthiness by some people in society. And today's topic that we're going to be discussing is, why do we as women entertain toxic relationships? And before I start, I'm going to give you the definition that I kind of researched. Dr. Lillian Glass from California, and a psychology expert, stated that a toxic relationship is when two people don't support each other. There's conflict through competition, disrespect, and lack of cohesiveness. It can lead to damaging mentally, physically, emotionally amongst the people, which, if not treated properly, can be carried on from relationship to relationship. So today, ladies, and I'm going to start with you, Adrianne. Have you ever been in a toxic relationship, and did you see a sign early on?
I have been in a toxic relationship before, probably a couple of toxic relationships, and yes, I did see the signs early on, and sadly, I minimized those signs, or I dismissed them because I looked at other things that probably weren't as important and tried to stick those things out. And I think in a toxic relationship, it just becomes just that poisonous. It takes over the whole relationship, and it begins to be combative and abusive, and it can just get really ugly. And so, yes, I did see the signs early on, and for some really terrible reasons, I stayed. Maybe because I just wanted to make it work, and I could fix it, or I could change that person. All the wrong reasons to try to stay. Mm-hmm.
Mona, have you ever been in a toxic relationship? And if so, did you see any signs?
First of all, I don't like the word toxic, and because we are in this Me Too era and toxic masculinity, I believe that men should be masculine.
Wait, not
hold
men.
on, let me,
men, just you.
Let me explain.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm explaining myself.
Okay.
I don't like the term toxic. So like I said, because we are in this Me Too era where men are being accused of doing some things, I don't know if they're guilty or not. I don't like the word toxic. So have I been in some bad relationships? That's what I'm going to change the word to. Absolutely. Did I see the signs? I would have to say nobody really gets into a relationship looking for bad things to happen, but eventually you see some clinginess or a little stalkerish behavior, and you think, oh, that's really cute. He showed up at my house, and I didn't even, invite him. How'd you get a key to my place, and I didn't even give you one? Why are you with one eye in the garage door thinking that it's another car in my garage because the lights are on, so it's changed the car a different color? we see a lot of things and we think that they're cute. We think that just happens in the beginning stages of the relationship. It takes time for us to get to know each other. Like Adrianne said, I'm going to be nice, and once he sees how nice I am and how sweet and loyal and trustworthy and attentive that I am, who would not want to, reciprocate that? So yes, I have seen signs. I have stayed longer. I think we all have as people, not only just women, yes. Stayed in bad relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I would say yes. I have been in a toxic relationship a long time ago, and I would say the signs were definitely clear. They were there in the beginning, but I ignored them. I even had friends who would point certain things out, and I dismissed their concerns too, because I think in my mind at that time I thought, it's okay. It's all right. Or at least I got one. At least I'm, you guys are just hating. You guys are single. You just jealous, when that wasn't the case. They were actually, concerned. But I dismissed the warning signs and stayed longer than I should. Right. And I guess that's what kind of brings me to my question is, why do you think we stay? Why do you think we entertain relationships like that?
I think a lot of times, like one of the things you mentioned is sometimes it can be our insecurities and low self-esteem that we feel like, well, maybe I can't get nobody else. So he's not really that bad, even though you see these red flags, like this dude is tripping. Crazy. But in the beginning, it seems like, oh, he just loved me. That's why he called me 50 times a day. That's why he shows up at my job unannounced. This is why he does these things. Not realizing this is the beginning of some dangerous ass stuff. And we dismiss it because we really want to be in a relationship, so bad, or we love them. And, maybe somebody has told you something about them and you too embarrassed to say, yeah, this fool is crazy, but you're going to try to make it different. You're going to try to turn him into something that he ain't, so yeah.
Mona?
I think the reason why most of us stay is because we want what we want. We want to we see something in them and we want them to see it in themselves.
Yeah, true.
And we're like, come on, babe, you can do it. Come on, babe. We're better than this. Come on, babe. I really care about you. But yeah, we stay because we're fantasizing and romanticizing the part that, when it's good, it's good. And so we overlook those small things that are really not small. They're really the bigger picture versus the things that we enjoy.
Right.
And like Neisha said, society has taught us that we need men.
Right.
We're not taught to be single and happy. If you're single, that means
something's wrong.
You're lonely.
Yes. Yep.
Not that you live alone. It's just that you're lonely and nobody wants you. And so we will say, "Oh, girl, you hating? Oh, a piece of a man is better than no man." And yes, because we are the first teachers of children. That's why I said in our previous broadcast, we are not the teachers of men.
True.
We are supposed to be led by their example.
Yes.
They are supposed to upgrade us. They are supposed to embellish us. They are supposed to take us from the teachings and the environments that our parents put us in and take us to the next level, to complete our womanhood. Right. They are supposed to leave us better than we were before we got with them. Yes. But like I said, because we're hard-headed, we're stubborn, we're lonely, we want a man, we want somebody to love us, we want a man too, we want to go some places, we want to wake up to a man, that we overlook certain things. True. And then once you overlook one thing, then you'll overlook two things. You know what I'm saying?
It's easier to overlook.
Or once you don't have any a moral compass, once you don't have any boundaries, once you don't have any deal breakers, and you say, oh, you're not going to do that to me, but then you overlook it.
Right.
So what does that tell him? That tells him,
she'll put up on it.
Right. She'll do whatever.
Exactly.
She'll do
she
whatever.
Don't care. She ain't going nowhere.
She done her 50 times.
She ain't going nowhere.
Do is huff and puff and blow the house down, and I'm going to rub on it a little bit. I'm going to look at it a little bit until I love her. I'm sorry. Go buy
Give her some roses.
That extra dozen roses, and
she'll be
we're
fine.
back at it again.
Yeah,
that's why we stay. And also because we stay in toxic relationships because it was never a relationship in the first place. It was never what you wanted. It was something that you made up in your mind, and we were never on the same page.
Yeah.
It's been toxic from jump.
From day one. Yeah.
So would you say toxic behavior could be a sign of undiagnosed trauma?
That when you allow it? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. Some of the traumas that you have been through as a woman, as a child, comes out in the relationships that you choose and you pick. Because, for instance, if you were in a household where there was a lot of toxicity,
yes,
clearly you begin to think that's the norm.
Yes.
And you get into these relationships because you see mama deal with this, that, oh, it's okay. I remember one time, and like I said, I never experienced witnessing abuse, but I remember one time a friend of mine said, girl, I'm gone. Dude pushed me. I'm out of here. I was like, he just pushed you? See, in my silly little head, that seemed like that's something acceptable. That's nothing. That was just a push. But for a healthy person, they realize and recognize that is not acceptable behavior.
Right.
This has the potential to get really, really bad, and I better leave now.
Yep.
So I think that, when you've had trauma and you've experienced had some really bad experiences, you tend to mimic what you've seen and allow what you've seen in your life. That's why it's so important that we are showing our girls and our children healthy relationships.
Yep. Mona?
What was the question?
Do you think toxic behavior is a sign of trauma, undiagnosed trauma?
Yes, you can't bring something to the table or to a person that you don't have for yourself. You can't bring love to a person and you don't love yourself. You can't bring understanding and kindness and genuine behavior to a situation when you're not genuine with yourself. You can't be trustworthy if you are lying to yourself. So whatever unresolved issues that you have experienced in your past, of course they're going to show up. We just don't know how they're going to show up, when they're going to show up, in what form. I like the toilet paper coming down this way. He likes the toilet paper coming from underneath. He had a bad day at his job. Instead of him saying, I had a bad day at my job, it becomes a toilet paper issue.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
So not having those physical boundaries, not having those verbal boundaries set in place, yes. And like you say, being in a household where mama hit daddy, daddy hit mama. Daddy cussed out mama, mama cussed out daddy. I never seen my parents argue. Now, in retrospect, they did be like, we're going to take a ride right quick. Now I know that ride meant it was a knockdown, drag out. I never seen them physically fight. However, the next day you might have seen some sunglasses, or if your daddy took his shirt off, you might have a scratch on his face, he have a scratch on his chest. We never seen that.
Right.
So, like you said, children emulate what they see.
Exactly.
Yes.
If I have been traumatized in my family, I think traumatization is the norm. And then there are the children that be like, psh, miss me with that. Nobody is going to do A, B, C, D, or D. I'm out. I don't know why you're staying.
Yes.
But I'm not going to take it. So,
yeah. Because the reason why I asked that is I was watching a show, and the interviewer was interviewing a young lady. She is 24. She has 3 kids. And she would have had 4, but she lost 1. And when it all boiled down to her asking questions, it stemmed from, she was like, do you love yourself? She was like, I don't know what that is. She was like, do you realize that the more you have kids, the more, your kids will look at this as dysfunction. Like, who taught you to hate yourself? Most people be like, who hurt you? Who did? That pretty much was the question. And what it stemmed from was her mother. Her mother had her at a young age, did not want her, left her with her grandmother because her mother had a career and wanted to focus on the career. When her mother did have her around, her mother was yelling at her, cursing at her, hitting her if she did anything wrong. And so what did she do when she had her 3 kids?
Abandon them.
She didn't abandon them, but she hit. She's abusive. And she would yell and she would scream. And not only she would take it out on them, but she would take it out on the fathers. And so it all stemmed from trauma from her mother. And so she thought it was normal to yell at, curse at, hit kids, hit men, hit, period, because she never really dealt with what took place from her own mom. So that's why I was saying, like, do you think, toxic behavior could be a sign of undiagnosed trauma? And sometimes it definitely is.
Oh, most definitely.
It is, and it's just nothing was ever worked on it. And so we tend to take it out on the person that we love. Why? Because the person that loved us did it to us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I was going with that. How do you heal from experiencing trauma? I won't say toxic. I'll say trauma.
I think it's definitely a process. And the thing with trauma is it's one of those things. It's an ongoing thing that you have to work on yourself, because there's things that trigger you, that make you think about the trauma again, and then you're right back where you were before when the whole issue or the situation started. So trauma is one of those things. It's different for everybody. What my process is different from another person's process, and you have to be willing to work on it, because I think a lot of times we brush certain things under the rug, and we think it's never going to come to the surface, but those things come up in your new relationships. And then it's like that. I always think of that song by Erykah Badu, Bag Lady.
Yes.
And how she says you're going to miss your bus dragging all them bags like that. You drag all this stuff into these next relationships, and they don't work out because you're bringing toxicity and trauma from one relationship to the next, and you're never working on healing, so that you can, clean that slate and start fresh in a new relationship. And it's so unfair for the person that you try to start a relationship with as well.
Yes.
Because you still have that hurt that you're dealing with. So, yeah, that's rough.
Mona?
I think that in order for you to heal, first of all, you have to identify that you have been traumatized, that you do have some issues, that you don't have boundaries, that you need to set in place, and get yourself some morals. To heal, you need to, like we alluded to on one of our broadcasts, sit in your quiet space. And talk to yourself and admit, even if it was the fact that you should have never got with that person in the first place. That's a step. What did I do right in this relationship? What did I do wrong? What could I have done better?
Yeah.
Not for this fool, but for the next relationship.
Right.
And also, what will I never do again? What will I never allow to happen to me again?
Right.
What did I actually learn? And stop using another warm body to replace
get over
the damage that has been done that you have not did the work on. You have to take time to be by yourself and correct some things.
Exactly. We got to own our part.
Yes.
Own our part and be willing to. I think that's really when the healing begins, when you're willing to dig deep in yourself and say, even if your part is just that you stayed too long, but recognizing it so that you don't repeat that same thing over again. We got to own our part, because it didn't happen just because of him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's both of us contributed to this.
Yes.
So we got to be willing to own our part. And like I said, for me, that's when the healing began. Is when I realized, okay, you can't sit up here and play the victim. What did you do? Why are your kids now suffering because of some decisions you made? Yeah, it's a hard thing, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you know that the relationship is bad. And although maybe he did play a big part of it, but what part did you play?
I mean, see, that's why I always, when we always do the opening, I always say where we hold ourselves accountable.
Yes.
Right? Because I love being able to say, yes, I was in a relationship, let's say a failed relationship. Yes, it didn't work out. But you know what? here's my part that I played in it. Here's what I learned from it so that I don't repeat that behavior in my next relationship.
Right.
So that the next person that comes into my life does not have to be blamed for something that was never his fault. He shouldn't have to step on, walk on his tippy toes because he may be afraid to say something and it's a trigger for me.
You're fragile.
Right? So
Fragile.
you want to make sure that you are healing and ready for the next relationship so that that's not the case. Because it should be where you guys are exploring each other for the good and not just simply trying to play makeup for what happened in the last relationship or relationships, right? So that's my thought for that. And
Just let me throw in one quick thing.
go ahead.
Nobody wants to lose their love.
True.
Nobody wants to say, damn, I was with this man 4, 5, 6, 7 years and I lived a lie. And that's why we don't see the red flags or admit to them or we don't heal because we say, I did everything right.
Yes.
I did this, I did that, I said this, I did that. We don't want to lose that love. We don't want people to be like, damn, you was dumb as hell.
You don't want to look like the bad guy. Like, dang.
So you didn't catch that? We stay in denial. And here's the thing for all ladies, young and old, we have all lost that love.
Yes.
We have all been a fool for love.
Yes.
You know, some have been a fool so much they gave out their money, their cars, their apartments, their passwords, or whatever. But at the end of the day, we have all been a fool for love. It's just a learning process of what you won't do again.
Yes.
And that's how you get those little nuggets in your wallet. That so when he come with, you be like, been there, done that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, hey, it's hard to lose that love and go out here and put on your happy suit and go back out there and try to find somebody new because we make an excuse and say, well, at least we know this fool. We know what he gonna do. And that's another reason why we stay.
We stay.
Yes.
Yes.
Comfortable.
Yes. I agree. All right. So what would be, if you could give the younger generation one solution to avoid a situation like what we've experienced, what's that one bit of advice you would give them?
I'd say from the beginning, the red flags that come up, and I can't emphasize that enough, that we tend to dismiss or ignore, make light of. Those are the very things that are going to come up at the end of the relationship when it's all over. The very things that you ignored will be the things that ended that relationship. So you have to take them for what they are. I don't care how fine he is, how beautiful his eyes are, how bad his body is. At the end of the day, recognize those flags. You can't go into a relationship thinking you can change a person. They should come already assembled.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to put them together like Build-A-Bear and make them into this thing that you want them to be. If they're not what you want, be okay with letting it go. Because everybody's not for you and you're not for everybody. The safest thing I could say is that, to avoid the trauma, the toxic, the chaos, the drama, recognize those flags and stand firm on that. You have to have boundaries in place deal breakers that you just will not cross. And I think that you got to be firm with that.
Okay.
Because if you let it down, you're giving them that thing that, hey, she'll fall for anything. Yeah.
Mona?
I think that people do to you what you allow them to do to you.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree.
When a person sees you standing 10 toes down, loving yourself, and the boundaries that you had and the deal breakers that you're not compromising. I said I don't do that. When they see you love yourself, they got to do nothing but love you. When you love yourself, you get those people off you. Those people that didn't mean you no good. See, we tend to, and I'm going to make it real fast, we tend to allow people in our lives and hoping that they would change, and we want to take all these people on our journeys with us, and we do ourselves disservices. Get rid of them. Or we don't want to be called, the diva girl, or the bitch, or she's mean, so we stay in there. Oh, you got to go. Gotta go right now, because I am more important than you are. My love for me has to be solid in order for me to have love for you. That's my final thought.
Awesome. And I completely agree with both of you. I would definitely say like they said, you definitely have to love yourself more than you love anyone else. And when you do that, everyone else will see that too. Mm-hmm. Treat yourself so good that everyone else knows how to treat you. My bit of advice would be, as soon as you see a sign of trauma that could be dangerous, whether it's someone yelling, someone hitting, someone pushing, someone cursing at you because they had a bad day, cut your losses. Don't think, oh, it's just a bad day. Don't think that this can get better, because more than likely it won't. Cut your losses and move on. And that's my final thought. That is it for today. If you guys have any questions, please, hit up our comments. Please like, share, subscribe, leave comments for anything, any topics you feel like we should have or talk about, or if you want to, add on to it, we appreciate it. We read everything. We have no problem with being corrected or answering sometimes, because sometimes people misunderstand what we're saying. We love you guys. We appreciate you, and we will see you soon. BGP, we out.